Hi everyone, welcome to week 8. We are on the downhill slide and have some really important things coming up. So this week you are finishing up your outdoor environmental education lesson. And for those of you who were interested in participating in the event that we will be having in person on campus on June 1st, so let me just give you an update. So the only date available is June 1st. And we have enough activities, enough lessons, and so if you do want to participate, you'll be participating as a volunteer to just help with those activities. You can earn extra credit, and if you are interested in doing that, please email me right away so I can add you to, we're going to have a short Zoom meeting on this Friday, which is the 26th, from 2 to 2:30 to just give out information. So that'll be your last chance to participate and earn extra credit in this way for the course. So the time that they will be coming to campus is June 1st. It's from 8:30 to 10:50. That's a Thursday morning. So if you're available and you want to participate, again, email me and let me know, and we will get you on the list to join us for the meeting. So for this week, as I mentioned, you're going to finish up your planning for your outdoor lesson. And so this week you actually have to do the entire lesson plan. So last week you started putting together some of the major pieces that are going to go into it. And so this week you're going to take those pieces and you're going to actually put them in this lesson plan. So you'll see in the lesson plan that's linked on Canvas, it's linked in the assignments, also on the Google Drive, linked on the to-do list. This is the template that you should be using. In this first edition of it, I have instructions in purple. So these tell you what should go into each of them. Again, you may not have all of the 5 E's in this lesson, but you should have at least engage, explore, and engage, explore, and evaluate. So follow the directions on what to put in there, and then here's the blank version of it that you can incorporate. There's also a checklist that tells you, okay, make sure you have all of these things in here. So first and foremost, you should have both your science and literacy standard. Those were on your planning sheet. You're going to want to identify academic language in your lesson that students will need to know, and you will want to incorporate or include a strategy for teaching that academic language. You need your learning targets, one for each of the standards. So you must have a science standard and a literacy standard, science learning target and a literacy learning target. Oftentimes these are included in the lessons you're adapting, but so for the project learning tree, you might have a science one, but you also might need to add in the one for the writing or reading standard that I've incorporated with this lesson. So materials, this should include your trade book that you're going to do. Again, your procedures for the activity, how you're going to evaluate the activity. Those assessments should match your learning targets. And then how are you going to close the activity? So in addition to this information on this template that you have to complete, you also must include as attachments or at the end of the document any materials that someone would need to teach this. So if you need to include your notebook page, it needs to be completely designed and ready to go. If you have any assessments that you're giving the students in addition to that, those should be included. So think about if you were going to walk into a classroom as a substitute teacher and pick up this lesson, would you be able to do the entire lesson with the students? So some other things, make sure you include safety and think particularly about outdoor safety. That can be addressed in your materials section here or in your procedures, either one. So thinking about engaging your students. How are you going to get them excited, interested? That should be something that's really student-centered and beyond just, oh, let's have a discussion. The other thing I want to point out here on the lesson is you need to do some sort of pre-assessment. And remember, we did a lot of work on looking at the Page-Keeley probes and how to kind of get students thinking out there so you can examine it. So I would highly recommend that you use a probe to do this. You can do your own pre-assessment, but it needs to go beyond just saying, what do you know about this topic? So you really want students to disclose their thinking about it. Okay, so that is the assignment that's due this week, and that will be turned in, and the due date is May 28th by midnight. The other thing that you're going to be doing is you're going to be looking at some resources for next week that we will be using to do your STEM lesson. So your second lesson you'll design in this class is a STEM lesson. So we're going to learn a little bit about what is STEM, why do we want to teach STEM. Here is an article on a STEM lesson that was created for kindergarten. And so you're going to read this article, and then using this checklist, which is the attributes checklist, you're going to see how many of these STEM things were actually included. So this is to help you get familiar with what does a STEM lesson look like and what kinds of things does it have to include, because you're going to have to include all of these in yours. So you're going to read the gingerbread article. While you're reading it, you're going to look for these things and check them off. If they are present, if they're not present, if they are missing and they're not in the lesson, then I want you to, at the bottom here, just give a brief description of how you might incorporate those in the lesson. Like, what would you add to the lesson to address those things? So this assignment you will not be turning in. So this is to do on your own for yourself, and honor system, you can choose not to do it. Prioritizing, what you get done in the class, but this will be very helpful in you understanding all of the things that are going to go into your STEM lesson and what a STEM lesson should look like. So I highly recommend that you complete that assignment, even though I'm not having you turn it in for a grade. So to recap, here's our to-do list. Finish up your lesson plan. Again, you can do this lesson with a partner or a group of 3. If you chose to do it by yourself, that's fine too. Each of you will need to turn in a copy of the lesson plan, regardless of whether you worked on it together. It should include the trade book that you picked out to use with the lesson, and it should include a science notebook page. Make sure you label each of the 5 E's that you have in your section under procedures, and then include all the materials that are needed. This is how you will be evaluated. And then make sure just to look at that checklist at the bottom of the lesson plan and make sure you've included everything. This lesson is actually worth more points than some of the other ones, so I would suggest that it's worth 25 points. So this one's going to take a little longer. Be more thorough. Make sure you incorporate all of those things in it, and do a good job on it. So the last thing on the list is, oops, let me find the to-do list again. Here we are. Read and watch the materials on STEM under week 8, a couple of videos in there and an article. Read the Gingerbread Man article, use the checklist. It's linked on the Google Drive, and I actually will link it here too. And then again, you don't need to turn that in, but it will be really important for helping you to figure out what to do in your lesson beginning next week when we start to plan that. And that will be your final for this class, is the finalized STEM lesson. So just a few more weeks to go, and hope you're doing well, and I will see you next week.